Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sportcat's Daily Gazette. And I should say good morning to all the Australian fans on Radio X. We appreciate you tuning in. I know it is 0400 there, and so I appreciate you for being on the channel. I'm Glen, Sportcat Jackson, host of the Sportcat Daily Gazette, and we cover everything from trending news to breaking news to, well, sports, entertainment, and world events. So we want to thank Ross at Yergs Radio. We're live on yergsradio.com and, of course, Rainbow Radio. Appreciate him for allowing us on his airwaves to tickle your ears. And I appreciate Radio X as well. Good afternoon, Denise. And I forgot to say good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to you wherever you are in your part of the world, because we have listeners now all over the world. So it's crazy to think about that. People want to hear me talk. I don't get it. It's just little.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
That's right. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good night. All right. Well, we will start things off. We're going to switch things up. We're going to do some trending news real quick, and then we're going to hop over to where we normally are, and then we'll go back to sports and entertainment, stuff like that. So it'll be good. Good morning, Chris. Good afternoon, Chris. Let me push a button here. And away we will go. All right, so we're going to start off with some breaking news that started early this morning, and that's over in Europe. There is chaos right now as Heathrow Airport is closed, and it appears it will be closed for several days. Oh, well, Denise, I hope you're well. All right, so apparently there's some travel chaos as Heathrow Airport has closed after a fire. There's a fire at an electrical substation. Good Lord. The counterterrorism police are leading the investigation into the, quote, unprecedented electrical substation fire that has closed down London Heathrow, stopping more than 1,300 flights as engineers are trying to restore power to not only the airport, but several thousand people in London. It's created quite chaos. They were dispatched last night around 11 p.m. Well, I guess, last night around 11 p.m. to a fire at an electrical substation in West London, with power cut to thousands of homes. 70 firefighters tackled the blaze, which the brigade said at 8 a.m. was under control. This is local time for them, with more than 20,000 liters of oil having caught fire in a transformer. Officers said that despite the acidic smell, there was no air quality danger to the public. The cause of the fire is unknown, although security sources indicated there was no immediate indication of foul play. A spokesman for the Metropolitan Police said, "We are working with the London Fire Brigade to establish the cause of the fire, which remains under investigation. While there is currently no indication of foul play, we are going to entertain an open mind." Given the location of the substation and the impact this has on critical national infrastructure, the Metropolitan Counterterrorism Command Unit is now leading all inquiries. This is due to specialist resources and capability within the command staff that can assist in progressing the investigation at a pace to minimize disruption and identify the cause. The detectives have the security clearance to access sensitive material as investigators try to establish the fire's cause. Heathrow is regarded as a potential target for terrorism or sabotage. More than 1,350 flights have in the world. Power is cut off to the airport's two main terminals, and they have immediately canceled or rerouted all flights. And it has the capability to holding up to almost 300,000 passengers, with a significant portion connecting onwards as well as freight. Airline operations around the world will be affected, with the knock-on effects expected to last several days. And you can see in this graphic here, in New York, there was 146 flights. In Dublin, 111. Amsterdam, 110. Frankfurt, 114, and Geneva, 113. And you can see that that's going to affect worldwide everything. So, all right. Well, I'm trying to say, are we live on Radio X in Australia at this time? I hope we are. Just got a message that we may not be. All right. So we will continue. According to the online flight tracking service Flight Radar 24, 120 flights to Heathrow were in the air when the closure was announced. Some arriving flights from Asia and Australia were diverted to other airports around Britain and Europe, while others coming from the U.S. returned to their departure points. Ooh, can you imagine? That's going to be a long flight. You were almost to Heathrow, and you're coming from JFK, which I think is about a 14-hour flight. They're just going to turn around and go back. Wow. All right. Well, apparently we are not live on Radio X in Australia. I hate that, but they're having some technical difficulties. So Ross and the team are working on it and will let us know. All right. So this is going to take a big hit to worldwide commerce, and it'll be also to, of course, travel. FedEx, DHL, packaging will be disrupted. It's going to be a big deal. The firefighters had some issues battling the fire because when you fight a fire like this, most of the time they are underground, which is a problem to start with. Secondly, the fire, you can't put water on it. So, that's a big problem, but getting to it, then the products that it's putting off in the smoke is another very hazardous condition. So you can't expose yourself to that. There's a lot of things with this that is technical. You have to have a special team. You have to have special chemicals and other things. So, which they did, it sounds like, but it's a big deal. So Chris says, if Radio X people all liked and subscribed on YouTube, they would have a backup. But my pleas have apparently fallen on deaf ears. Well, Chris, we try. It's just a technical glitch. We'll be back on soon. It's not. I'm not that concerned about it. I do like the numbers we get from there, and I do like the fan interaction because I've actually had some, which is kind of cool. But yeah, they'll get us back on and up and running. I've been in emails with them for the past several days because I was on yesterday, but apparently I wasn't days before. So we'll get it figured out. It's just a thing, nothing but a thing. I'm not going to stress myself over it because I've got my loyal and faithful followers here. And I appreciate you all for being here. Where's Wendell, by the way? Do we need to do a welfare check on Wendell? Make sure he's okay? No, continue to the site. Good Lord. What are we talking about now? Okay. I find this interesting. This is trending on X and Google. UK, Germany warn travelers, and US entry is not guaranteed. Where did the story go? I probably killed it because of my ad blocker. Basically, what it's saying is that if you come over here and commit a crime, you'll be held responsible. I'm not going to disable the ad blocker. Just go away. All right. Well, then we'll just close you because now you're just annoying me. So yeah, they're saying that, what in the heck is going on here? Okay. Well, I'm way out of order here on stories. What the heck? What did I do? I don't know what I did. All right. Well, we'll jump to this story in just a minute. This is the new F-47. Anyhow, from European countries, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, Europe, they're warning people when they come to the States, there's no guarantee of entry. And if you commit a crime while you're here, there's no guarantee that you won't be detained and held and unable to return to your home country. It seems like common sense to me. If I break a law when I'm visiting in London or Ireland, I should be held responsible. I mean, now, I will say on my travels as a flight paramedic, we usually had a handler because when you go to some of the Middle Eastern countries, they have some things that are a little bit different and things you have to watch out for. Like, for instance, my nurse, she was probably old enough to be my grandmother, but she had to walk behind me and she could not walk on my right side at any time. You cannot tip some female servers because of their customs. Look, I almost got in trouble for that because I had like a lemonade and a club sandwich, and I tipped what we normally do here in the States. And I think it was like 15 or 20%. I don't remember. And the manager come out and was like all pissy with me about, why did you do that? Okay. Yeah, I was like, that's what we do. And he's like, no, you don't tip females. Okay, sorry. So, but he gladly took my money and he had nothing to do with it. Let's see. Chris says, I thought you were going to say we were giving everyone who entered illegally one of those cool planes. Well, this has been trending because President Trump broke this story during, and I hope he was planning on do it rather than loose lips sink ships. This is our next generation. I believe they're calling it the 6th generation fighter pilot, the F-47. Apparently, this has been in operation for 5 years, top secret. Some of the capabilities it has, of course, is all the guns and missiles and bombs of most. It has laser, jamming, stealth capability. And the newest thing, it has the ability, when launched from a carrier, and one of the new carriers that they are putting in service has an additional runway for drones. So essentially, AI will control, the pilots in control of the F-47, but the AI is going to have drones. I don't know if they're going to be left and right of it, in front or behind of it, probably left and right of it. And it will take out things too, but AI will control it, but it will be flying in tandem with the F-47. It's been in service for 5 years and has made all of the air tests and is going into production, mass production, to our military, probably Air Force, Space Force, Navy, Marines. All of them are going to get some of these cool fighter pilots or fighter jets. And according to our president, it's the greatest, biggest, most technologically advanced aircraft in the world. I don't doubt that. I saw an interview with a general right before coming on, and he was kind of taken back by some of their questions. He's like, well, I can't tell you everything it does, but I can tell you some things. So it's really cool. Apparently, we will now have superior fighter pilots and aircraft capability. And I would love to know the flight deck on this thing. I would imagine that this thing is probably to the point where it's almost out of space. I mean, as far as height for travel, you know, like commercial airplanes travel at anywhere from 28 to 35. When I was a fighter pilot, when I was a flight medic, our flight deck was usually around 50. The highest we ever got was 55 because of Learjet capability. And we know there were fighter pilots over us at 70,000 plus feet. And occasionally when we would go through secured areas, because we were a medical flight, we would interact with some of the fighter pilots. Coolest thing, I don't know if it was F-18, 16, 35. I think it was 35. It came up beside us vertically. Is that right? Vertically? Yeah. And just hovered there. And the pilot looked over and waved at us and then just kind of rolled out and disappeared and then shot up straight in front, not in front of us, but beside us where we could hear him and feel him. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So yeah, we did interact some. So, all right. So while we were discussing this, I wanted to go ahead and break this news. It's fake news again. There is no, Trump dismisses the claim that Musk will be briefed on potential war plans with China. Fake news. Apparently, there is going to be a big meeting at the Pentagon today, and I believe Trump is going to be involved with it. And somehow they say that Elon is going to be involved because he will be there too, but he is apparently only going to be in the financial sector. So the report, which cited multiple anonymous U.S. officials, said the U.S. would give a presentation of the plans by the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other top U.S. military leaders, including Admiral Christopher Grady, the acting chairman of the Joint Staffs. Fake news is added again, this time failing New York Times, Trump wrote in a post on social media platform Truth Social that they said incorrectly that Elon Musk is going to the Pentagon tomorrow to be briefed on any potential war with China. How ridiculous. Trump added that China will not even be mentioned or discussed when Musk, good Lord, I'm having a speech impediment today. When Musk, a special advisor to the president, visits the Pentagon on 21 March. How disgraceful is it that it is discredited media making up lies? Anyways, the story is completely untrue. So apparently they're going over there today to review financial stuff, and there's also going to be a top secret meeting, and some people leaked that Doge and Musk were going to be in the, well, I guess Doge is Musk. Anyhow, he's going to be in on this and briefed on whatever this top secret squirrel meeting is. But it was funny at the same time, while he had Hegseth there, and this is an old picture because I didn't see Musk there, Trump released the information on the new fighter pilot. I'm not sure if that was planned or if that was a slip of the lips. But at any rate, it came out that it's been in service for 5 years. So, yeah. Good Lord, I did it again. All right, well, that story, God almighty, I got to stop it. That story was about outgoing President Joe Biden ordered euthanasia and the burning of almost every poultry farm in the U.S., which created a chicken and egg shortage. And it was basically going back and forth trying to determine if it was, if it was a genuine thing or if it was fake news. But documents do reveal that he did authorize and order the euthanasia. And we've discussed this before. They cleanse with fire. They burn it all. And then they go in and they sterilize it, or what they call a sterile environment. All right, so we talked about this yesterday. This has been trending. And I'm surprised. This may be part of what they're talking about. Just a few days ago, for the deployment of the USS Gravely in the Gulf of America, the U.S. Navy prepares a second warship to be sent to the country's southern border. The announcement will be made by the end of the week, according to non-identified U.S. officials cited by the PL News Agency. If you remember yesterday, I broke it that there would be something coming, and it will be from the West Coast. So I'm curious if it's going to come down through the Panama Canal and back up. Of course, we won't be able to track it, but it's going to be kind of interesting. So this is a plan with joining with the Navy, with the Coast Guard, and doing drug interdiction to fight off piracy, and of course other missions, probably ones that we are not briefed on. Apparently, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum said that she was notified ahead of the time about the deployment of the Gravely. She said the warship was in international water. The Cuban Foreign Minister, Bruno Rodriguez, rejected the president of the U.S. warship in the Gulf of America to presumably fight drug traffic on his X account, said that this military presence in the zone poses a threat to security and peace in Latin America and the Caribbean. So the USS Gravely, a guided missile, set sail March 15th from Yorkton, Virginia. And interestingly enough, this story came from the Cuban news agency. None of the American news agencies are talking about it. So I find it interesting that that's where I had to go to find that. But yes, so all right. We'll get into this in a little bit when I come back to from our normal stuff. It's funny, I've got a lot of local news from Tennessee, which is really funniest thing I can imagine. All right, so we'll get back into our normal wheelhouse. We'll start off. Hey, Wendell, welcome. I was worried about you. I was about ready to send out a search party or something for you. You're always here. All right, so FEMA has updated today's National Watch briefing, the daily operations briefing. This is as of 8:30 a.m. today when they brief the president. This is the non-top secret part. We don't get the secret squirrel stuff, so I wish we did. At any rate, occasionally I'm able to tell you things I hear. So, new significant incidents, ongoing operations. They're still going on the wildfires in Oklahoma, and they're going to be watching the critical fire weather that's going to be taking place pretty much in the southern plains and going to be moving into the southeast probably before the end of the weekend. In severe weather in the lower Mississippi Valley, there are no new declarations of activity. Now, remember, with all this tornadic events that occurred, the process has to be local, then state, and then the governor requests FEMA to come in. FEMA can't just suddenly drop in and start handling things without permission from the locals in the state. So just keep that in mind. The Oklahoma wildfires, the situation, the critical fire weather conditions, and fire-related watches and warnings are in effect for Oklahoma. The National Watch Center is reporting on 12 fire management assistance grants in Oklahoma, covering a combined 101,000, almost 102,000 acres throughout the state. Mandatory evacuations remain in effect for about 15,500 residents. State and local resources, Oklahoma SEOC, that's basically their emergency operations center, is active and monitoring. The governor has declared a state of emergency. That was on 15 March, and FEMA has responded, and they are, of course, watching the situation. Usually when they respond initially, they respond with additional firefighters, and they will provide, I don't want to say air support, but they will provide tankers to drop the water. So they have been notified, they are activated, and they are doing something. All right, so there's 6 fires burning, and it looks like only 2 of them are halfway contained. So there's a large area of, let's say, 8, 10, 12, 14, over 100,000 acres are burning. That's just me and my quick, rough GED math, so don't hold me to it. Oh, well, there's a page 2. So there's additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's an additional 8. I didn't realize there's a page 2 that are burning, and only a few of them are getting marginally contained. Some of them, or most of them, are at 0% containment. Some 50, the largest is 80. So let's hope and wish them well. All right, so the fire weather outlook, and of course, Texas, the heat is returning, and that dry air is going to make it in Oklahoma in the danger zone. Almost the entire state of Oklahoma is covered. There's a small elevated risk up in the Four Corners. No, that's not the Four Corners, up in the Great Plains. And that will continue today through tomorrow. And it will actually grow a little bit to the west of that tomorrow. National weather forecast. It did not snow in Tennessee, but my daughter reported in the mountains there were flurries. So technically, the National Weather Service might have been a little correct. All right, so for today, we see that on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California are pretty much all going to be getting a mixed bag. And in the higher elevations, crossing over into the Sierra Mountains, going into the Rocky Mountains, you're going to see some snow. Up in Michigan and Wisconsin, parts of South Dakota, you're going to see snow. In Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and part of, what is that, Delaware, is going to get snow, and a little bit south of that will be mixed precipitation. The Ohio Valley is going to get some rain, and there's some significant weather coming up probably the next week as this cold front tries really hard up here to come down, and the air is just getting right. So Saturday, pretty much the entire top of the country is going to get snow or a mixed bag of rain snow that'll extend down pretty much from the Canadian border to almost the Tennessee state line straight across the continent. So tomorrow's going to be an interesting weather day. Mainly, it looks like the higher elevations. Sunday, that's going to move a little bit further east, and that's going to create some critical weather conditions in the south. I don't know if the energy will stay there. It's depending upon how much that front can push down. So the only severe weather outlook is currently the snow, but on Sunday in the south from Texas to Tennessee, vertically there, almost all the way across to the Carolinas, there will be some potential for significant weather. I don't know what that slide means. All right. Apparently, they were supposed to end something there. Well, we don't have many sports. Well, we do, but I don't know if I'll get to them. All right, so here's the FEMA operating area. We know they're still repopulating and rehousing in the Carolinas, Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia. They're active in Georgia and Alabama. So that entire sector of FEMA is really busy, and they've called in resources to deal with the fires, any severe weather that is breaking out in the lower Midwest. So FEMA is working. They have 91 plus major disasters and 8 emergency declarations going at this time. So they are working their tail off. So I know a lot of people don't think they do, but you got to get the resources and you got to get there. So, all right. So we look at the damage assessments. There's nothing new reported. The most recent ones have come in from Arkansas from the severe storms, and they have 9 counties, 10 counties that have asked for assistance. And in Oklahoma, they are actively working there, and they don't list the counties, but no, that's for Missouri. 25 counties they requested for severe storms and tornado resources. And declarations in progress, nothing new except for the Tennessee area in 18 March asked for help with severe storms and flooding. That's probably going to be more financial if I had to guess. All right, so let's jump onward here. Not going to sports yet, Wendell. Remain calm. The president's schedule today, of course, 9 a.m. is the normal press pool time. At 11 a.m., the president and SecDef, Hegseth, deliver remarks from the Oval Office, which has already occurred. And, well, that's where they announced the new plane. Yes, Wendell, it did actually here in East Tennessee. It got, in the lower elevations, it got frigid, but I was still able to go outside and vape in short sleeves. I put on a toboggan, though, but it wasn't bad. But my daughter, who lives in the higher elevations, she said it was freezing and snow flurries. So, all right. Hope you didn't freeze your toes off, Wendell. All right. So at 11 a.m., they had those comments. And then the out-of-town travel pool call time is 3:40. I assume that's because they're going to be flying with him on Air Force One. Interesting note, you have to be invited to travel in that press pool. And usually it's the major ones, but occasionally some other ones can submit and go. But you have to pay the cost of a commercial travel aircraft flight. In other words, if it would cost $500 to go on Delta to and from Maryland to Florida, you would have to pay that, or your agency would have to pay that, plus 50% for gratuities, which is basically food, water, whatever on the flight. So the press doesn't fly for free. Very few people fly for free on Air Force One. All right. So at 3:40, they will meet. At 5 o'clock, the president departs the White House en route to Joint Base Andrews. At 5:10, he will arrive via the helicopter, Marine One, and he will arrive at Joint Base Andrews. And then at 5:20, he will depart en route to Morristown Municipal Airport. All right, so the president arrives at Morristown Municipal Airport at 6 p.m. tonight. And then from there, he goes, the president departs Morristown Airport en route to Trump National Golf in Bedminster. Interesting. I figured he'd be going further south where it's warmer. And at 6:30, they are going to close the press, put a lid on it. He will be at the National Golf Club in Bedminster. We'll look in a little while and see what the flight restrictions are, but that's where our president is today and what's going on. Of course, it's subject to change, as we know. All right, I'm going to give this anyhow, just in case. This is the current weather for Australia. This is in Celsius. It's 20 degrees in Sydney, 11.4. And one of you, quick, do some math for me. 11.4 Celsius in Melbourne. Brisbane is 22.9. Perth, 16.5. Adelaide is 12.9. Hobart, 11.4. And Canberra is 16.4, with Darwin 26.8. It looks like it's relatively calm, and on the radar, the only areas that are going to get some showers probably will be Sydney and Brisbane and Darwin. I forgot Hobart. Otherwise, it will be partly cloudy. The radar currently that's not the radar. Let's see here. This is the radar. There we go. We can see yesterday we talked about, and I'm assuming that is just a radar loop right there. And it is a little unusual. We talked about yesterday that it would be breezy with spotty showers across the country. And we were pretty close, but the problem is they're experiencing the flooding right now over on the east side of the continent, and these rain showers really aren't helping them. So in the middle of the country here, they've had some fires. They didn't get a lot of relief from rain yesterday. And it doesn't look like it's going to be a significantly rainy day in Australia. But we wish our friends down under well, and we will continue to monitor there. All right, and I brought this up only for one reason, because I found that sometimes the FEMA one isn't as accurate as this one, but it looks pretty consistent with the national forecast we talked about. And continuing tomorrow, day 3, which is Sunday, we will not be on the air. We are only here Monday through Friday. That is going to be the area where we need to be concerned. Arkansas, Mississippi, it'll extend eastward into Alabama and Georgia for some severe thunderstorms. So everybody have your radio, your flashlights, and be weather aware over the weekend if you're in the southeast. So that is on Sunday that is to occur. So I wanted to bring that up, make it bigger so that everyone could see it. All right, we're going to refresh this page because we always get new things. All right, this is the weather warning. I'm not endorsing this page. They do not give me any money to show their page, but I encourage you to go there and check it out. Just be prepared. You will get lots of warnings. All right, so the newest one, we have a frost advisory in Florida. That looks like it's going to be pretty much to the what is that called? The Lost Coast in the Gulf of America, from pretty much Tallahassee to Gainesville, just inland slightly. So temperatures are below 34 with frost formation. Inland Dixie, inland Taylor, Lafayette counties from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Saturday. It could harm sensitive outdoor vegetation. We got that. And that's what we just looked at. Andy is testing again. I don't know why he does that. High wind warning in Montana, we need to be worried about. And of course, they issue a warning and a watch in New England? No, Nebraska. I'm sorry. Nebraska, this is the dangerous fire weather today. And if you look on the map, it's pretty much from the state line of Kansas northward, almost to the top of the state. And they list that its humidity will be as low as 20%. Any fire that develops will catch and spread quickly because we have the winds. So everyone should not be burning. What are you saying, Wendell? Here we go again on what? I don't understand. Small craft advisories. This is for the coasts on the east in the Carolinas. And Montana has the special weather up by the Canadian border and strong winds that are going to be affecting up there in the northern high plains. They're calling it the Eastern Glacier region. Interesting. All right. And then we have more small craft advisories. These are going further north along pretty much the East Coast into Virginia, up towards the New England coast. Even with a gale warning in Delaware. All right, Tennessee, several counties in the western portion are under a severe flood warning. This is coming out of Memphis for the following rivers: the Tennessee, the South Fork, and the Forked Deer near Halls. To be noted, that is not the Halls closest to me. South Fork Forked Deer River, including Jackson, wind from late Saturday night to early Wednesday morning at plus 9 feet in the area. So keep your weather radio around and be weather aware if you are in West Tennessee. All right, we have rip currents, and we have flood advisory in Louisiana and Mississippi, Florida in the coastal areas. And we talked about this earlier. This is the red flag warnings. And if you looked, pretty much the entire state of Arkansas or Kansas is going to, yes, window there, Sunday, it has some potential. Arkansas is under a red flag warning. Whenever there's a red flag warning, please discard your cigarettes safely. Please do not start any fires outdoor. All right. So special weather statements. This is going to be up for the tip of Minnesota, and this is going to be for the cold front that is passing through. So it'll bring a period of stronger northwestern winds, lower humidity, and of course the temperature will be dropping with winds gusting to near 30 miles an hour, and it's going to cause elevated fire conditions. They're asking you to check with your local authorities in Minneapolis and Wisconsin if you're going to be burning. My advice is don't burn. And so we have flood warnings in Texas and Louisiana. And we go back to the small craft advisory. This is on the western coast. So pretty much from the winds, that's going to be the main thing. Chris, in your area, there's a moderate chance, I'm not sure exactly where you are, but the combination of strong south-southerly winds gusting to 40 and the humidity falling values around 30% will lead to elevated grass and brush fires threat. While grounds are still a bit soggy from recent precipitation, grass and other fine fuels continue to dry. And so, Chris, I'm not sure where you are, but don't go outside and burn anything, Chris. So, and we get to Texas flood warning, see if there's anything new here. Otherwise, we will move onward. Florida, down in, we're still going to be discussing this. Metro Palm Beach County, Inland Broward, Miami-Dade, all the way, pretty much the entire lower section of Florida is under a fire weather watch. They are still battling the fire down pretty much in Dade County, where that affected Route 1, and they had it closed off at Key Largo. Key Largo, pretty much you couldn't get on the 100-mile bridge. Wendell, if you have some links to that, send them to me. I would like to report on that if you can find out what they're doing. So yeah, pretty much the lower East Coast from Boca Raton, actually a little bit north of Boca Raton. That could be why the president's not going down there. West Palm Beach, downward on the West Coast into the Keys, they are under a fire weather watch. So they're concerned about the fires growing, and they are encouraging everybody not to burn outside and keep weather aware. North Carolina has got an air quality alert. I'm not sure what that's about. North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality in Raleigh has issued a code orange for fine particulates until midnight tonight. That means fine particulates within the region may approach unhealthy standards. For additional information, visit the North Carolina Division of Air Quality. Not sure what that one's about. That's new. We will check the air quality here in a minute. Rip currents in Florida. Florida has the most interesting weather. Mississippi, Kentucky, Alabama, flood warnings throughout the day. That's going to continue through the weekend and will get intensify over the weekend. So be weather aware. Colorado, my friend in Colorado, if you're listening, you're under a winter weather advisory. The higher elevations are going to get some more snow. She sent me a picture the other day. It of a fence, and I asked how tall the fence was because it looked like the old wooden style fence, and snow was halfway up the fence. I was like, good Lord. All right, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, high surf advisory, red flag warnings will continue. That's in Nebraska. And then they're getting into the weekend where they're going to have the small craft advisories. And then, freezing spray warning. That's a new one. That's up off of Lake Superior. When the winds are coming in, there will be freezing spray. I have not seen a freezing spray. I have seen freezing fog. Wendell, there's got to be somebody talking about it somewhere. You get a deep web search it for me. I have seen freezing fog. We were coming into Cleveland, and the airport we come into is right by the lake. And as we were coming in, the fog froze, and they tried to close the airport, but we were already in our pattern and couldn't. But it was quite tricky for the pilot because, well, basically the air froze around the plane. It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life. You get outside, and it's like, it was almost like something you would picture out of the Marvel universe because there was fine particulates, but they were frozen. It was almost like you were walking through a Slurpee. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Montana, they have an avalanche warning or avalanche watch. That is up by the Canadian border in the higher elevations. Conditions are likely to develop Saturday morning and then continue through the weekend. So if you're up in that area, please be very careful, especially if you're skiing. I know that's still popular this time of year, especially up there. All right. So special weather statements in Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia. That's probably going to be for the fire conditions developing with a lot of humidity, and then the winds coming in from the northwest. So they're under a special weather statement. I look for that to probably change to more of a fire statement. All right, so I think we've pretty much caught up here. If you could ever catch up, this site goes on forever. Great site if you want to check out what's going on. They are really up to date. I'm going back here. We're at greater than 12 hours, so it's good stuff. All right, what did Wendell say here? All right, I will look at that in a moment, Wendell. All right, so that is pretty much what we have. Current activity, we saw no real significant threat except for up there in the Indiana, Illinois area for some thunderstorms. The winds, they're saying they're less than 5%, and there is a less than 2% chance of tornadic activity today. All right, that's good news. All right, and this will bring up our current weather map. As we've discussed, all the areas with the fire watch are in play. The front coming in off of the Pacific West, up around Oregon, Seattle, is still trying to push inward. We'll check out that wind up there in a minute and see how it is. We talked about all these watches and warnings. The little blue dots are earthquakes. We'll cover that in a bit. The storms that just came through are pushing off into the main region. I did get a weather report from Montpelier, Vermont, and it snowed overnight with greater than 3 inches. The National Weather Service is keeping an eye on this little front right here. It's got a little bit of rotation to it in this one right here, but they have not put out any hurricane warnings as of yet. But they are still concerned about it. And we see our good friend here, 2625. It's still kind of sitting there doing its little thing in its weird pattern, but it is harming no one. We look here off of the coast of Madagascar is still that front that is non-cyclonic. It's just a depression at this time, but Mozambique and Madagascar did get some heavy rains. Australia, we take a look at you, and Australia, it looks like along the coastline on the west, there's some light activity. The coastline on the east, there is some light rain activity, and that's going to be significant to your flooding. So, and then in the central parts of the country, there is going to be from the Northern Territory east, some spotty showers and thunderstorms extending down into South Australia. All right, so that is the current weather map. I can get it to come back here. Please come back. We will discuss all the stuff and all the earthquakes here in a minute. All right, we'll move on for this one. Well, that was our wind map, but we'll get the other one. I've got to figure out how I keep doing that. It seems like I'm double clicking. All right, so this is the air quality map. We see that down in Mississippi is New Orleans, west over to Austin is some moderate conditions. And we talked about earlier Greenville in the South North Carolina region there, the Piedmont, they're under moderate conditions. Wendell, it looks like you're in the clear. Alabama, you're going to have some only around Birmingham. And okay, I'll check it out, Wendell. And that's pretty much it. The border up around El Paso, it's going to be extreme. This is over in the Bend, what's that called? The Rose Rogue Valley region. Looks like there's some extreme air quality conditions there. All right. Here is our favorite map. I know everyone has been looking forward to this one. This is our current wind. And we look, coming off the Rockies, as we discussed, is that trough pushing down towards the southwest, but it's being met with a front coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. My killer dog's on the prowl down there. From the Gulf of America, extending up northward to the Great Lakes. It's pulling in some of that warm Gulf moisture, and that front is trying to push down. That will determine, this right here will determine the severity of the weather. If it gets enough energy when it comes down, especially once it crosses the Appalachia, it will be something to be worthy of checking out. We do see a little circular activity. It's not really a nor'easter, but a little circular activity off the coast of Maine. And as we discussed, over on the west coast, that front is still trying to push in, and we see a little bit of a trough coming down from the Alaska. That'll be coming through the Alaska Bay. That will be our future weather warning. So probably about a week and a half out. Thank you, Wendell. I will check on it here in a bit. Let me know if it's something I should bring up newsworthy right now. I'll bring it right up. Let's see. Let's look at this circular rotation they were concerned about, but they put up a little X saying less than 10%. Then they took it away. Then they highlighted it again last night, but they've since removed it. So they were concerned about it, but then they weren't concerned about it. So it is possible. We are not in hurricane season yet, but it has happened in the past. All right, let's look down here in South America, and it looks like it's pretty much a non-windy day on the coastlines, except for over by Peru, and otherwise South America, it looks like it's going to be relatively calm with no wind. In Africa, we've got some concerns from the winds pushing down from the seas. There are some wildfires. Of course, there's some other issues there. We see this trough still pushing down off of Madagascar into Mozambique. I'm learning my geography. How about that? All right, Wendell, I'll check it out. And we see, as we discussed, it's pretty much a non-wind day in Australia. So I hope that helps things dry up, and I hope that they can work to get the flood conditions they were experiencing on the East Coast, and the Gold Coast was really, really hammered. So hopefully that helps them get the area cleaned up. All right, so we're looking back over the states there. We see pretty much coming from the Rocky Mountains down where it meets that front up to the Great Lakes is about the main event. This little circular trough off the main coast is pushing off. So it's pulling in the air. That dry air that we saw the other day right here is one of the areas of weather concern. And also, this will eventually be pushing the dust storms. Chris says, I have increased his knowledge of Mozambique considerably. Well, all right. This little area of dry air right here is where they're worried about the most storms. And if you recall the dust storms that were in the Midwest, that's going to start pushing, and it's going to bring the mud rain over the weekend to certain parts of the southeast, maybe as far north as West Virginia. Remain calm. It is not the government spraying you. So the conspiracy theorists had a field day with that one. There's brown stuff falling from the sky. Well, to the west of you, there was mud. Shocker. All right, so we look at the state of Nebraska. That state is the only state right now experiencing a significant power outage. 28,805 people in Nebraska are without power. It's mainly on the border on the east, where the winds, if you remember that little wind trough that was coming down, is coming right through there. So probably that's what it's affecting the most. All right, Wendell, just for you, the earthquake warnings. Moose Creek, hold on a minute. Let me refresh this to make sure I got the most accurate one. Okay. Moose Creek, Alaska just had a 2.8. And we'll see here. Another one in Puerto Rico. They're always having a little shaking. And where was this one? Oop, I pushed the button too quick. Well, they say it's a 2.5 to, 2.5 in Fort Bidwell, California, occurred not long ago. Alaska, of course, has got some shaking. I was thinking, Wendell, there was some down by you. 6.2 in Panama. Ooh, that's a significant one. And Fort Bidwell, California. Puerto Rico, Chile had a 4.9. And Arizona had a 2.5 in the south of scenic Arizona. Alaska had some more. And I was thinking for some reason, Wendell, you have one. Let me see here. When was that one? Dyersburg, Tennessee, 2.8. And that was about 5 hours ago. All right. Oklahoma City. I wanted to bring something up. Yeah, still in the middle of Alaska. I wanted to bring something up that two meteorologists pointed out last week during the significant storms. And you remember we talked about how two of them followed the exact same track. The area of their origin, and this is just coincidence, but some people say there's no such thing as coincidences, especially when you come to nature. The area from which the tornadic activity originated had two earthquakes that were relatively mild. Only the animals felt them, but they had two earthquakes at the same time as the tornadic activity, and they're trying to determine if there's any correlation between the two. They're calling it a coincidence, so science is still checking that out. But some people say there are no coincidences. All right, so we look and see. Yes, this one was in Glen, Elder, Kansas, 2.7, and down in Texas. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's New Mexico, a 2.7. So that's the most recent shaking in the country. We discussed this one in Arizona and Bidwell, California. Alaska, as you see, the most recent one there, 2.8 in Moose Creek. There were none, Chris, to report over in the southern continent of Africa or Mozambique. There were two, however, out in the mid-Indian Range Ocean. So here you go, Chris. Australia is no shaking going on currently. And we look up around here. Mongolia, they had a 5.1. Over in Iran, they had a 4.8. There's some question if that was of natural origin. I'll leave it at that. And in Turkey, they had a 4.2. Greece had a 4.3. Hope my friend Paula in Greece is safe. All right. Let me make this larger so we can look at it. And we're just going to hit things that happened today because we're hitting the 1 hour mark. I want to remind everybody that's listening, if you are, well, when the government did it, there's some conspiracy theories out there. And I do got to say that for a natural event to be a coincidence, two earthquakes, two tornadic activities originating from almost the original point, I don't know if you can call it coincidence or not, especially with nature, but I don't know. All right, so we're only going to cover the stuff that has occurred within the past 24 hours. We discussed in India the bee attacks, and that was amongst a bomb scare. That was on the 19th. In Canada, we are concerned about 126 urban deer have tested positive for Wasting's disease. I'm not sure what Wasting's disease is, but that is in Canada, where that is of origin. No new epidemics. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. They don't have it in order here. New Mexico reports Texas measles outboard has crossed the outboard. No, it's 221, not 321. Let's say it's old. Let's see. Australia environmental, the sea foam. That is something that has been puzzling many people on the Gold Coast. The sea foam that came inland. If you remember, we talked about that, and it was crazy. It looked like, from the videos on YouTube, it looked like foam falling from the sky, and then when you hit the windshield wipers, it would spread like dishwashing detergent. This is the craziest thing. So it's an environmental concern of sea foam. Let's read that brief if we can. And maybe I just broke my computer. Nope, I didn't. All right. Several local media outlets have recently been reporting about a foam that has washed up on some beaches in South Australia. Coinciding with fish death, visitors reported respiratory symptoms. We discussed this already after being exposed to the water. And RFI, I'm sure it's a research team, has been sent to the Epicor Center to collect data and report to the media and take reported events from reliable sources. They have confirmed the occurrence of the event reported by the media and has been informed that the foam has forced local authorities to close for public safety until at least 21 March. Some beaches in the Newland Head Conservation Park, West Victor Harbor, have received several reports of fish death on shore and people complaining of blurred vision, itchy eyes, coughing, and difficulty breathing. And they seem to disappear when the exposure stops, and washing in clean water. All right, so South Australia Environmental Protection Agency is investigating the cause of the fish death and the foam, which is apparently a rare thing. So stay tuned. We will report more on that. Bigfoot window reports wasting is like mad cow disease. Okay, got it. We don't like mad cows. Mad cows are bad for you. They bite you. All right, so that's the new epidemic, and that's in Australia. It's funny, we reported on that earlier. Zambia has the first mpox death. Wendell, you have to Google that one for me. It's got to be a cross between measles and smallpox in Zambia. So they're reporting the death as infection has risen to 31. And let's see. We discussed the traffic disruption in Heathrow with the power outage. That's going to be going on over the entire weekend, so we'll have that to worry about. Pakistan, 10 terrorists killed and captain martyred in IBO. What is an IBO? Let's look this up. I'm curious what an IBO is. Let's see. Security forces killed 10 terrorists in an intelligence-based operation. And okay, all right. So basically, and they sent some drones in and killed some people. And an army officer embraced martyrdom while leading troops from the front. Okay. All right. So from an intelligence-based operation. Interesting. I've never seen that one. And that's the most local security conflicts. No new mass displacements. No public safety incidents. And no new demonstrations. I look for that to change over the weekend, especially if President Trump is in New Jersey. And let's see. We discussed the oil leak in Norway, where vandals left behind an oil leak. That occurred last night. We didn't really discuss it a great deal, but there was some. Let's just pull it up. Police are investigating vandalism and even sabotage that led to a major oil leak from an idle electrical transformer. That's interesting. An idle electric transformer, and they just had the thing over in Heathrow. Interesting. Earlier this week, as much as 60 tons of oil spilled into nearby rivers, and apparently it is causing a oil slick are clearly visible. And so it looks like someone clipped their way through. Okay, so this is a quote. Looks like someone clipped their way through the fencing, then loosened a valve on the transformer so that the oil would start running out, according to the National Electricity Agency in a press release. This is now a case for the police. By Wednesday, the police still had no suspect. All right, they're investigating why a security system meant to prevent leaks failed. Interesting. So that occurred. I don't have my UTC map here, but that occurred overnight for us. And then the London fire in a transformer. Okay. So could they be related? That's in Norway. I don't know. I'll leave that to you to decide. It's not me. I just report on it. And nothing new there. Nothing new there. Did anybody notice that the story went dark about the Russian or the Belgium tanker or cargo ship that rammed our tanker? Notice how that story went dark? All right. Malaysia, deadly fire in a Melika home leaves 1 dead, 5 injured. Slovakia, they had a fire that killed 5, including 4 children. And then we discussed the fire up in Brooklyn that displaced 13 and injured, or displaced more and injured 13. All right. United Kingdom, dozens of wildfires reported as a huge blaze burnt through the night. All right. Well, we've discussed eco-terrorism. And we discussed the Miracle Man rescued. Also, over on my radio show on the Thin Line Rock Station, I discussed just this reminder talking about Miracle Man, a phantom on the highway. Apparently, in the Midwest, he would throw things out in the roadway and sit in an inconspicuous place, and there would be no, stop that. There would be significant he would throw something like a bicycle out in the middle of the interstate, and it would cause the car to either hit it and run down a ravine, or they'd swerve to avoid it and run down a ravine. And he would be the first one there to help you. And then he disappeared before police got there. So they were investigating that. Wendell, we've discussed all the earthquakes for you, all the shaking going on. And sinkholes. France is a sinkhole. And Indonesia has the highest volcanic alert on Mount Lebotia has erupting in Indonesia, Asia. So if you're in Indonesia, Asia, be volcanic aware, I guess. And let's see. Nothing new there. And North Pacific, south of Panama, a tsunami warning. That's from that earthquake we showed you. Let's pull that up real quick. Preliminary magnitude 6.5 earthquake, where we discussed, is put out a tsunami warning. It doesn't look as though it's going to affect anyone at all. It might have some effects over here on, what is this territory? I don't know what this territory is. I'm sorry. It looks like that's off of the coast of Panama. Maybe it'll affect them. Hopefully it won't affect our ship coming from the West Coast. All right. Breakdown of energy, 8,000 without power. And we discussed that. And we discussed the ceiling collapse in Egypt. We'll discuss a gas leak in Flint Hills, Rosemont. It prompted evacuations. We're going to discuss that a little bit more when we see a TFR, temporary flight restriction. I caught that, but it didn't show up anywhere else. It's interesting that it popped up here, but it's dated old. But I don't remember us talking about it before. Let's see, 17 unexplained deaths after a wedding in India. Well, don't eat the cake. And let's see. And Australia, pilot dies in a light plane crash in remote WA. I'm not sure what remote WA is. Let's pull it up so that anybody listening will know. The pilot of a light plane crashed into remote farmland in Western Australia, has died. Police confirmed the man, aged in his 60s, the sole occupant of the plane, was dead at the scene. Wreckage of the plane was discovered by members of the public about 11:15 local time. All right, now it looks like that is all right. So now we know what that is called. All right, is Western Australia. Wendell says, I wonder if Indonesia has enough marshmallows. I don't know. Let's see. Saudi Arabia, 6 Indonesian Umrah pilgrims killed in a Saudi bus accident. Okay. And it was in Hungary overnight. A train derailed and collided with a car in Tizadara. Don't ask me to repeat that because I can't. All right. In Turkey, a carrier sailing to Mozambique ran aground near Bosphorus. That's in Turkey. I'm getting some of these names right. All right. So nothing new there. And we talked about the heavy rain in South America. Let's see. Madagascar, of course. We talked about that. And heat wave in India. Nothing new there. Severe lightning in India. So that'll probably spark some fires. And let's see here. Lots of lightning events across the Middle East and India. Persistent thick fog is still popular in Bolivia and South America and Brazil and North Korea, and as well as the Russian Federation of Sevastopol and in Canada. That's French. I can't pronounce it. All right. We're going to keep moving onward here. Let's see. Russian Federation, severe storms. Canada is expected to have some severe storms. All right. We talked about a lot of this already. Mozambique still. All right. In Asia, Georgia, Greenland. We're concerned about them, or they're going to have some severe storms. All right. We're going to close that. We talked about Pakistan. Why did it take it off? It did give me the most recent events. Refresh. All right. So we'll just go through here real quick. I don't think there's anything new on this one. The Indonesian volcano. Okay, there's another one in Japan, volcanic activity. We discussed earthquakes. They had given me earlier some alerts, and I was going to go through them, but doesn't appear anything too new. And it's pretty much all we've discussed in the areas where we're primarily concerned with, except for Chris down in Mozambique. All right, so this has been updated, so I'll show you this. This comes fresh from the CDC. Oh, I forgot, top of the hour. We're going to have, for everyone listening, if Radio X were still live, and anyone listening, top of the hour, we will have some current event and trending news and some sports just for Wendell. All right, so this is from the CDC. It's just been updated as of today. So the amount of acute respiratory illnesses causing people to seek healthcare has declined to a low level. That's good. National emergency department visits are moderate for diagnosed influenza and low COVID and RSV, which is respiratory viruses. Nationally, the flu and COVID have decreased. Wastewater viral activities for influenza A and COVID-19 are still moderate, but overall, it's declining. That's because of the weather coming in, it's warmer. So COVID-19 prediction for the next 2 weeks suggests that emergency departments will remain low to a very low level. And the influenza predicts suggestions that emergency visit departments will continue to decline. The respiratory illnesses are still being monitored, and they're saying that everything from the common cold to severe infections, influenza, RSV, and COVID-19, they're still present, but they are going to be declining. The only states where they're showing to be moderate are Alaska, Idaho, Montana, up in Wisconsin. I always forget about the little tip of Wisconsin and Michigan there. And it looks like the Ohio Valley and Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia, they're still going to be suffering from some acute respiratory, as well as New Hampshire. It's kind of odd that New Hampshire and Louisiana are both in there. So they're going to have some moderate acute respiratory illnesses. The wastewater map where they test our poo. Wendell, I do it just for you, man. Just for you. This whole show is just for you, my friend. Anyone that's not listening or not watching, you can come over to YouTube And find us on the Paranormal Guys. And we are live there. And you can jump in the chat and talk with Wendell, Chris, Denise, everybody. And we will highlight your comments. So come over to the Paranormal Guys. Guys is with a Z, Guyz. All right. So very high for COVID in the wastewater in South Dakota and in Oklahoma and pretty much the Ohio Valley. Its activity is really high, even going down into the southeast with our poo. That's according to the government, the CDC report. And influenza, pretty much as we discussed, it's remaining moderate where it's only going to increase slightly. It looks like in the Midwest. In like Missouri, South Dakota, and Oklahoma. The Northeast and New York, probably more in the populated areas. Down where you are, KG, it'll still be a little bit high. And Wendell, for you, moderate levels of influenza in Georgia are higher. RSV, which changes the map a little bit, we look for it in the Midwest to be relatively high, but as a whole, it's declining in the southeast and up in the northeastern in the Maine region, it is decreasing as well. Overall, visits to ERs are down for COVID. However, they are higher for influenza. Respiratory viruses saw a spike, but it is decreasing. So, and the only place where they're really concerned about, of course, is New York and Maryland, District of Columbia, probably high densely populated areas, and likely growing in COVID in Oklahoma and for some reason, Washington State. I think that would be different there. And everywhere else in the country, it looks as though the influenza is declining. So some states like Georgia are just likely declining. Some states did not participate in the poo test. All right. So there is your update from the CDC. They usually update Mondays and Friday. Wendell says, me, Chris, and Denise are the only ones who care and support you. That's not true. So I have other fans. I get emails and messages, so it's not entirely true. I've got more than 3 viewers. I've got like 8. I mean, come on, give me a break, Wendell. Remember, we're growing, Wendell. We're growing a platform. All right, so this is pretty much a map. This is the NASA map. Remember, the small dots are just fires that satellite has picked up. Of course, the larger big flames are the active fires that we talked about in Oklahoma, burning up into Missouri. And they're still showing some here in the Smoky Mountains. And Wendell, that fire down here. And what is that? It's on West Lake, is still ongoing. We look down at the Keys in South Miami, and they're still burning as well. But that is pretty much where our fires are and where they are being reported and investigated. We'll jump out of here. Wendell, my views are not that bad, so give me a break. Killing me here, Wendell. I got a few fans. I got like 8 or 12 of them. Come on. So none of them have bought me a Mountain Dew yet, by the way. All right, I'm going to show you the wildfire smoke map. We saw where the wildfires were, and we see where the smoke is. Pretty much, we'll just follow our wind trend there, and it's moving off from Miami off to the south, and we're flooding all of the Gulf of America and Mexico with our snow particulates. Remember, some of that will get trapped into the air, especially out of Oklahoma, and will cross into the southeast into the mid-Atlantic over the weekend. So you'll see some hazy, smoky conditions for the fires coming out of there. Chris says he is working behind the scenes to increase the show's exposure in Mozambique. I live for that moment, Chris. Please, please. Actually, I welcome all of our viewers from around the world and listeners, because we also, once this is done, this will go out on Spotify. It'll be on Apple, Amazon, everywhere pretty much you get your podcast. You can find it there too. So everybody is welcome from there to hop over and catch the lives. We're live every day, Monday through Friday from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock for 2 hours, and until Radio X and Ross kicked me off. All right, I brought this up to see if there's anything new. We reported for you, Wendell, on the earthquakes. Tropical 2625 is just kind of hanging out, being a pain in the ass. We discussed the flooding and in the volcanic activity in Indonesia. We did not discuss the China and India fires, but they are a national event, according to the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination Center. I did not make that up. All right. Once again, do not get paid or do anything to endorse this, but this is the New England, the New England fire page. Oh, good Lord. It logs me out when I come on here. And anyone is welcome to come on. If you have a scanner, you can report thing. Hey, Soul, welcome. I haven't heard from you in a couple days. Hope you're doing well. We'll go through real quickly here, but looking at the map in New England, most of the activity is, let's see, this will be in New Hampshire, and entrapment. No, I'm sorry, this is in Maine, Scarborough, Maine, an accident with entrapment. That was overnight. And let's see, we're just going to click through here. Overnight in Winchendon, Massachusetts, a basement fire. Ooh, those are always nasty. And this is in Millis, Maine, for a sawmill fire. 2 fan trucks venting the building. Usually they have to call in big fan trucks to ventilate the building because the dust from the sawdust is extremely explosive. All right. Crews have an unknown size type fire. That was overnight in Wareham, Mass. Rhode Island, heavy fire showing from an unknown type structure. They've called for tankers to the scene. We'll hop down here into my neck of the woods. And this is, well, it's in my, really, this would have been my fire department station's immediate. Claremont Avenue, 1 vehicle wreck with a young driver. I wish you'd give us a little more information on that. Pike County, Georgia, several acres on fire. Yes, there's a small fire burning there, but remember that also is this fire over here in West Point that they're not reporting on. Let's see if I missed anything here. No, it looks like there hasn't been a lot reported lately. All right, so that's the news and updates from them. I encourage everybody, if you have a scanner or you want to listen online, you can go to like Broadcastify, Open Megahertz, several places, and listen to scanners online. If you hear something, join the New England Fire News Network and report it. It's a great service for people who like to know about what's going on. All right, this is the flight service map. I was telling you a little bit about this one earlier. I found it. I didn't know what this was up here, but I figured that this is now probably for the president. These little light blue things are not red yet because he's still down here, and we know why that is. They keep that area clear for security reasons. But I did notice several things, and let's see here. Temporary flight restriction. What is this one? Okay. Nothing serious. I did notice I mentioned this earlier, and I caught it on this. I thought it was kind of cool. Okay, this is aerial demonstrations at a major sporting event. Okay, no, that wasn't what I wanted. What is this one? Click on it. Come on. Louisiana, a temporary flight restriction, law enforcement, flight restrictions in the aircraft operations because of the sheriff. So there's some kind of operation going on down here in this area of Louisiana. But over in another part of the country, I noticed this little red dot. In Texas, airspace is closed for international defense. No, that's not the one. There's another one I saw. Where was it? Temporary flight restrictions, and firefighting activity. Yeah, that makes common sense. Let's see. All right, they don't specify as why, but I'm assuming that's for the fires burning. Oh, where was that one? Come on. I noticed it popped up. Remember we talked about the gas leak? Well, it wasn't being reported anywhere else, but they had put up a temporary flight restriction over it. Some of them, they don't say what the reason is for. This one is National Air Defense. Okay. And that one is a definitely don't fly in zone. And it's sporting aircraft, but national event for security reasons. All right. Wonder why we have a red out here. Temporary flight restrictions in California. And it doesn't give any reason why. All right. But that is a definitely don't fly zone, that area of California. Interesting. All right. We notice up here, this is all, some of this is what we talked about with the significant air events. They still have some flight restrictions up in Alaska and for a rocket launch. I'm not clear that we've ever launched rockets in Alaska. I really want to know, but this continues pretty much from the southern southwestern tip of Alaska up over into the Arctic Ocean for space events for a rocket launch. I've never ever seen or heard of that before. I thought that was really odd. All right, so it's just going to show us our country here. I got the other one pulled up, and all right, close this. And we see now they've changed it on this map to orange. This is for VIP. As we discussed earlier, this will probably be, we know down here in DC, we know later his destination. So these are probably all for our president. And if there's anything major pop up here, no operations. That's probably for firefighting. But we'll try and see. Let us go out far enough to see. Yeah, see this. So they got this rocket launch, and it's national security closed airspace. Since for space operations, I don't ever recall us launching a rocket off of the Alaskan coast up into the Arctic Ocean. I don't recall that. Has anybody else ever heard that? So, all right. So that's the only significant things. Of course, significant meteorological events out over turbulent air as you cross over into Europe, but you're probably not going to be going into Europe because you can't get into Heathrow. So good luck with that. All right. So that's as much for that. Boom. Let's close that. All right. So we'll get into a little bit of local news, but it's international news, and it was trending. I only report. WWE legend Glen Jacobs, who is also the mayor of Knoxville. And of course, we know in the wrestling world, he was Kane. He has issued a challenge to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on Thursday. The wrestler, who is now the mayor of Knox County, asked the Democrat to a charity wrestling match. Kane made the statement after Walz's comments on a recent podcast. On a podcast with Gavin Newsom this week, Walz said, "I think I could kick most of their asses. I know I can outrun them. I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we're okay. We challenge you, a WWE fight type of thing." All right. Well, Kane, who is a big-time Donald Trump supporter, took issue with the comments, and the 7-foot-tall former wrestler and now mayor challenged the governor to a fight on social media platform X. He did set some ground rules. All joking aside, Governor Walz, let's put our money where our mouth is and a charity wrestling match. We'll split the gate 50-50 between our chosen organizations. I'll kick things off myself with a $10,000 donation, he wrote on X. What do you say? And in Fox is reporting this could be a tag team match because The Undertaker, who was also a Trump supporter, has said that he would join into the match. So could we see Kane and The Undertaker putting the smackdown on Kane and maybe getting him to shut his damn mouth? Well, so far, the WWE has left memes in mocking Tim Walz on X after the podcast, but the Minnesota governor has not replied to Kane's challenge. This hasn't stopped Kane from making the post. He repeated his challenge to the Democrat politician, citing accounts that were putting money on a potential fight. Of course, we know who Kane is. He is the mayor of Knox County, Glen Jacobs, a former world champion, tag team champion, and intercontinental champion, the worldwide entertainment of wrestling. His last match was in 2021 in the Men's Royal Rumble, and he has not appeared in any match since because, well, he's pretty busy being mayor. Kane was involved in the Brothers of Destruction match in the Crown Jewel in 2018. So The Undertaker and Kane may join up with Tim Walz and somebody else, and I hope this happens. Please. please let this happen. We need this to happen for the charity, because usually if it's Glen Jacobs, and I don't know the Undertaker's real name, if it's him, it's charity for children. So please let this happen. This was trending. I don't know. Well, I do know why. I'll show you why. This was trending. Eliza Koo made a dazzling return to the spotlight, looking almost unrecognizable as she stepped onto the red carpet at the premiere of Netflix The Residence in Hollywood. The former Scrubs star, who won hearts as the sharp-tongued and brutally honest Dr. Dennis Mahoney, turned heads in glamorous metallic gold dress that shimmered under the bright lights of the Egyptian theater. It's been nearly 15 years since the medical sitcom went off the air, and she has transformed her style in a way that fans are doing a double take. And we saw this was her from Scrubs 15 years ago. And then when she took the red carpet, she had a sophistication look with a plunging gown and knee-high black suede shoes, draped by black mink over her shoulder, giving a nod towards classic Hollywood glamour. And, well, it allowed the dress to be the focal point. Her signature blonde locks were styled sleek and straight, with a trendy fringe framing her face just above her eyes, a sultry smoky eye, and soft nude, I can say that, lips. Her look adding to the dramatic impact of her appearance. Well then, I guess that's the Undertaker's name, Will Calloway. All right. Hey, Ross, why don't you team up with Walls and join the fight? But you'll have to put up $10,000 to your charity. All right. So that's the Undertaker's real name, William Calloway. But yeah, she has definitely got quite a different look than she had previously. So the internet was all ablaze. Aren't we against that now, shaming people on their looks? I thought that was a no thing. So she does have a significant look, but over 15 years, we all age. So I think she's still attractive for her age. I don't know her age. I should have looked that up, but she does have quite a different look, and she still looks pretty good. So, but yeah, she says that she has embraced more of a spiritual path, often sharing her reflections from her Joshua Tree, California. Her upcoming book, Coyote Woman and the Odyssey of Soul, she's using your word there, delves into personal growth, healing, and self-discovery. She's teasing in her book coming soon. Hint that fans won't have to wait much longer for a deep dive into her philosophies on life, love, and the universe. Beyond her acting and writing, she's been candid about her health and wellness journey after struggling with food intolerances for years. She made the decision to adopt a vegan lifestyle and immediately and completely cut out sugar. She said, I'm trying to heal that part of myself and also handle my physical issues naturally, putting the best things into my body. Her commitment to wellness extends beyond diet, and she recently opened up about turning to, and I don't know what that is, Ahosleia. That's something to cleanse herself of toxic energy following her divorce from superfood advocate Darren Olean. They married in 14, but ended in 18. So that was trending because of her looks. But personally, I thought we were away from this shaming of people because of their looks, but I guess we're not. All right. We reported the other day that Conor McGregor met in the Oval Office with Donald Trump. Well, is Conor McGregor going to make a run for the Irish presidency to make Ireland great again? Well, 3 days after his visit, and UFC fighter and strident anti-immigration hawk, Conor McGregor announced that he is running for the Irish presidency. McGregor's announcement centered on his opposition to the EU, European Migration Pact, which would streamline screening and the asylum process. And you can actually go online at the UN and download this document, and it outlines how the elite are planning on importing people into every country, and the end result being a new world order with a growth and elimination of the old evil white man. You can look that up. It's a document that they put out there that is very rarely reported on. It's a several 100-page document on the UN's website that will explain exactly what their plans are and why they want to bring so many people into the countries from other countries. All right. So Conor McGregor wants to accelerate deportations for people who asylums claim. Last summer, the Irish committed to a pact that implementing it by June in preparation for that milestone. All right. So they need to pass several legislative acts as migration practices conform. And so he is anti-migration. 36-year-old McGregor attacked Ireland's adoption of the European Migration Act. Look it up. And promised, and that is also, Biden was actively working on that behind the scenes. He was flying people in from around the world. They're now being turned around and flown out to their homeland, wherever. The next presidential elections will take place on 11 November 25. And who else will stand up for the government and oppose the bill? Any other presidential candidate they attempt to put forward will be of no resistance to them. I will. So he is saying that he is going to win, and the days of weak men creating hard times for Ireland are over. Mark my words. So good luck to him. So, he says they have zero accountability in Ireland, and an illegal immigration racket is running ravage in our country. Irish Americans need to hear this, because if those issues are not addressed, there will be no place to come home and visit. And remember, if you can prove your Irish lineage, you can get residency and citizenship in Ireland. It's one of the few countries you can do that in. So he is running for office. All right, I'm only reporting this because I have no idea who he is, but he was trending. Rapper Yella Breezy, it sounds like a soft drink, is charged with capital murder for allegedly hiring a hitman who gunned down M03. There's that MO3. I don't know. Whatever. Dallas rapper Yella Breezy has been, this is trending. This is the only reason I'm reporting it, has been charged with capital murder for allegedly orchestrating the 2020 killing of fellow rapper MO3, according to court documents. The 33-year-old That's On Me rapper's real name is Marquise Conway, was taken into custody Thursday for allegedly hiring a hitman to carry out murder on MO3. Real name Melvin Noble, on 11/11 of 20, according to court documents. He's accused of hiring Kevin Dontrell White to shoot and kill Noble while he was in a car on a Texas interstate. This is being reported by KDFW. It has pictures of both there. Noble was shot several times in the back while trying to flee the masked gunman. White was arrested again last month and is already serving a 9-year sentence for firearm charges related to the shooting, according to the media outlet. Conway, known for his breakout trap hit That's On Me, was formally indicted Tuesday by the Dallas County grand jury, court documents show. All right. He has been charged with capital murder for allegedly paying for the hit, according to the record. His bond has not been set, so I do not know who this fella is, but he was trending, so we report on what's trending. And in more fake news, this has been fact-checked. Colin Powell was, in fact, not eliminated or taken off of the Arlington Cemetery website. Fact-checking claims of service Colin Powell's page was removed from Arlington National Cemetery amid a purge of DEI. While the city denies any permanent removals, some pages, including those of notable African American, Hispanic Americans, and women, have been altered or hidden in compliance with defense orders. Amid the removal of diversity, equity, inclusion content on the Department of Defense websites, claims have appeared on social media. These claims say that about General Colin Powell, former Secretary of State and Chairman Joint Chief of Staff, has been removed, but that has been debunked, and even Pete Hegseth posted on X the page where it could be seen. So no one has removed them, and I saw, because I'm a Redskins fan, I saw that the Navajo Codebreakers had been removed for a temporary period of time, but they were replaced. So apparently, if I understand the stories correctly, apparently when the DEI order come down, some people went like crazy and took everybody off except for white people, which is inherently wrong and shouldn't be done. So they're working to restore anything that was taken down, but fact checking it is still there. And Jackie Robinson is still there as well. So that's all been fact checked. All right, Wendell, I got to do it to you. Didn't Yellow Breezy realize C-19 was going strong in 2020 and hiring hitmen to eliminate others was not just illegal, but didn't properly social distance? Yeah, it's a good point. Well, I guess that's why you hire somebody else during that period. So, all right. So Auburn overtook Alabama State. St. John's over Omaha. Don't worry, Wendell. This will be painless and quick. This was yesterday. Houston overtook Edwardsville. Texas Tech over UNCW. Texas A&M over Yale. Good job. And Tennessee over Woolford. That was not even a game. Wisconsin over Montana. And McNeese State over Clemson. That was a shocker right there. That was a number 12 team overtaking a number 5 ranked team. The number 1 team, obviously, that was a good game, but Alabama State wasn't in it. The Tennessee, who is ranked number 2 over Woolford, that was a definitely mismatched pair. Michigan, Drake, BYU, Arkansas, UCLA, Creighton, and Gonzaga took out Georgia. Sorry, Georgia, you get to go home. Number 8 eliminated number 9. But now Tennessee will play, and I think it's on Saturday, they will play UCLA. And I'm concerned. I'll say that much. So today, there's still some activity going on if you're following the NCAA. Wendell, Alabama is up 72-66 over Robert Morris. I know you were interested in that score. And so there's Southeastern teams playing later today. Ole Miss plays the Tar Heels at 4 on TNT. Kentucky plays Troy on CBS this evening. And let's see, those are the SEC teams I see playing. Another good game will be Oregon at Liberty. That'll be overnight on True TV. So, all right. No new news in any other sports. Well, we'll hit the sports breaking news, but that's pretty much all I'm going to cover for now. Women's college basketball. Today, I was looking to see if we have any games that stand out to me. Of course, you know who I'm looking for. Tennessee and Florida play tonight at 8 on ESPN. And this is female. And Kentucky will play. No, Kentucky has already beat and eliminated Liberty. So, all right. That's the women's bracket. And this was trending. And I did not know this, but Amir Khan, the internet is obsessed with McNeese's men's basketball team manager. The internet is buzzing with talk about McNeese State University's March Madness upset win over Clemson, which we just talked about, but not for the reason you'd expect. Enter the student manager, Amir Ora Khan, the first of his name. I'm not sure what that means. Khan is making history in his own right as a first ever student manager of a college team to be signed with an endorsement deal. He's got one with Buffalo Wild Wings and reportedly with Bleacher Report. Why? Because it's his aura, fans say, his charisma and energy. Some people just have it, and whatever it is, Khan's got it in good supply. He is known for hyping up the team at McNeese by hoisting up a boombox and blasting their walkout song before games. He is so popular that cheerleaders wear socks with his face on them. Wow. Fans are even lined up to take selfies with the student manager ahead of Thursday's game, which number 12 clinched over Clemson, number 5, after holding the Tigers to a lowly 13.5 points, and we're up by 18 heading into halftime. He's making good use of his 15 minutes, scoring a highlight on CBS Sports X feed with his memorable quote, "If they kept manager stats for rebounding and wiping up wet spots on the court, I'd put up Wilt Chamberlain-style numbers." Did his aura lead to the school's first NCAA tournament win? Well, that will be determined, but they're going to play Purdue next, and we'll see where they go. And he's going to be out there hyping me up the entire time. All right. So I will follow that because he is trending and he just looks like he's a fun guy to follow. All right. I'll skip this unless we come back to it with the latest news for headlines from ESPN. We do have some other entertainment news. This came out from Knox News, breaking today. Dolly Parton shares why her late husband, Carl Dean, always visited Dollywood in secret. She is mourning her husband of nearly 60 years while holding tight to their memories and leaning on her Dollywood family. Parton surprised fans and Dollywood season pass holders on March 14th at the opening celebration for the theme park's 40th season, making her first public appearance since her husband Carl Dean died on March 3rd. I will always love him and I miss him, Parton told the crowd, always thanking fans for their flowers, cards, and well wishes. It's a tradition, Parton to lead the opening ceremony, but parkgoers would have understood if she'd chosen to skip this year's events. However, she wanted to be at Dollywood. I need to laugh. I need to have some fun. So I'm probably going to be stupid. I've been crying enough the last week or two, she said, after ignoring the teleprompter several times and cracking jokes while previewing the season with the Dollywood president, Eugene Naughton. She opened up more about her beloved husband in an interview with Knox News and reminisced over his secret Dollywood visits. I'm doing better than I thought I would, she stated, sitting down with Knox News nearly 2 weeks after losing her husband. I've been with him for 60 years, so I'm going to have to relearn some of the things that we've done, but I'll always keep him close. An 18-year-old Parton met Dean in 1964 outside of a laundromat on the very first day she moved to Nashville from Sevierville to start a career in country music. They secretly wed in 1966 and have had no children together. I'm at peace that he is at peace, but that don't keep me from missing him and loving him, Parton said, noting that Dean had suffered a great deal. It's a hole in my heart, you know, but we'll fill that with good stuff, and he'll always be with me. And what is her favorite memory? Well, she shared that he was a private man who avoided the spotlight. You never saw him on the red carpet at a premiere, but you might have spotted him at Dollywood. He used to come to the park. He bought his own ticket, stood in line, got his ticket. He didn't want somebody giving him the ticket because he was Dolly's husband, and everybody thinks that's the funniest thing. He would appear often at Dollywood for work or to see progress of ongoing projects, but he never joined her. He only visited the park by himself while she was off somewhere else working. He'd come up to East Tennessee to see some of the family and people that he loved, my people, and he'd just think, well, I think I'll go to the park and check things out. He would indulge in some of the food, funnel cakes, but like his wife, he wasn't a big fan of the roller coasters. Instead, he walked around admiring the theme park, but he'd always come back with a few suggestions. He would say, for instance, you need more bathrooms, she laughed, imitating her late husband's voice, or he would say, you need to tell them this or that. It's crowded over that area. You might want to tell them they ought to do this. He was coming to criticize, but would notice things, and he would say, you might want to bring this to their attention. Parton might carry on Dean's secret trips. I think I would do like Carl, Parton told Knox News when asked about her perfect day. I would just walk around looking at everything. All right. He did seem like a super guy, and from everything I've read in local media, he was a nice guy. So, all right. We talked about Snow White the other day. It's coming out amid great controversy, and I did misname. I was thinking of the Wonder Woman star. She is not in the Snow White movie that's coming out this weekend, but apparently this movie has caused all kinds of controversy, and it started back in 2021 when Zegler cast Sparks and Backlash in West Side Story. She apparently made some racist comments criticizing people of Latin descent, playing a description in a fairy tale skin as Snow White. She spoke about interview with Andrew Garland for Variety, noting that all people were angry after she called for her critics, that people need to love into awareness. We need to love them in the right direction. And at the end of the day, I have a job to do that I'm really excited about, to be a Latino princess. She was the one that apparently made some remarks because she was defending herself as the Latino princess in the summer of 2023. She pleaded with fans to not tag me with a nonsensical discourse about my casting. I really and truly do not want to see it. Halle Berry, who faced similar backlash when she played Ariel in Disney's live-action remake of Little Mermaid, replied to the post with kind words. You know, I'm a huge fan of Halle Berry, and I did not know she was in The Little Mermaid. All right, so I need to check that out. She explained how the film addresses the whole skin, snow as white snow line. I felt back to another version of Snow White that was an untold story where she survived a snowstorm that occurred when she was a baby. She said And so the king and queen decided to name her Snow White to remind her of her resilience. One of the core points in our film for any young woman or young persons is remembering just how strong you actually are. And then in January, the debate over the dwarfs. Game of Thrones star Pete Dinklage, an actor with dwarfism, criticized the remake during an interview, saying, literally, no offense to anyone, but I was a little taken back when they were very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White, but you're still telling the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, said, take a step back, and you're doing it there. It makes no sense to me. Dinklage, who would go on to star with her in the Hunger Games and the Ballad of Songbirds of the State, continued, you're progressive in one way, but then you're still making an effing backward story. My soapbox. I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know which studio that is, but they were so proud of it. All love and respect to the actress and all the people who thought they were doing the right thing. But I'm just like, what are you doing? Disney responded later, saying in a statement to ET Weekly, to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we're taking a different approach with these 7 characters, and we've been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. We look forward to sharing more as our film heads into production after a lengthy developmental period. So it even went on, it continued on with the dwarfs. And then September of 22, she called out the 1937 Snow White is outdated and criticized the love story as weird. That shook some people up. Chris says, Dinklage saying he was a little taken aback by himself is humorous. Yeah. But that joke fell short on me, Chris. July of 2023, on-set photos of actors portraying dwarfs caused anger and confusion. It erupted around the outlets from the media outlets that reported showing the dwarfs had been replaced by magical creatures that were a mix of genders, ethnicities, and heights. Disney told the Daily Beast that those photos were fake, but the Independent later said the photos were not official. It showed stand-ins and some talent. The actor who had previously criticized Dinklage expressed disappointment in editorial review for Newsweek. In my eyes, there are 7 main roles that could have gone to people with dwarfism, he wrote. Dwarves growing up could think, man, there's a spot for me in Hollywood. There's a spot for me in a major motion pictures. But that isn't just a random cameo or gag. I can do this. To take away from that is just crazy to me. August 2024, boycotts were called due to her pro-Israel stance. And in October 2024, Ziegler reaffirms her pro-Palestinian stance. I was for it before I was against it. In November 2024, she criticized Donald Trump's reelection and riled up the conservatives again. February of 2025 reveals that the dwarfs are CGI and they're played. It's one actor that is being... That follow-up joke was unexpected pleasure. Nicely done. That's what I do. And we're running short on time too. So in February 2025, they revealed that one actor with dwarfism would be CGI'd into the 7 dwarfs, and that sparked some controversy. They could have hired 6 more with dwarfism, but they fell short and only hired 1 and then computer generated him. March 2025, they scaled back the premiere and said, oh, we never intended it to be a huge red carpet event. It was to be a smaller event. I'm not going to cover that story. I'm not going to cover that. We could talk about Barron Trump. He just turned 19 yesterday. He's going to business college. However, he wants to pursue more technology-oriented education past that. I don't know what that means, but apparently he likes computers. Fallen canines. Canine Ozzy with the McKinney Police Department in Texas was killed in the line of duty on March 13. He was shot taking care of his handler. So did report on that. I just didn't have his name. And the officer down, they have not reported it. Hold on, let me bring this up. I did have something on this. There was, where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Let's see. 3 police officers were shot in the Pablo Police Department. Reports said on Tuesday, March 18th at 7:12, Pablo officers received calls of shots fired, and they responded. An officer has been shot. Deputies responded to the scene, engaged with the suspect. Additional shots were fired. He fled in the foot in the area, continued shooting against the officers as they returned fire in response. The suspect was injured in the exchange. Officers rendered medical aid. However, the suspect was declared dead on the scene. All 3 injured officers were transported to a local hospital in stable condition. No member of the public were injured during the shootout. It involved the Pablo Police Department, PCSO. I'm assuming it's Pueblo Sheriff's Department, and Colorado State Police were all involved in this shootout. Apparently it was a pretty good thing. And you could listen to the shootout live for free. Okay. And then the story I wanted to talk about, an EMT was killed and another injured when their ambulance was involved in a crash in King and Queen County, Virginia. Very few details were released, but the picture showed a dump truck had smashed into the ambulance where it killed the driver and injured the passenger. There was no patients on board. I don't have any more information on that as of yet, but there was an EMT killed in the line of duty. So, and Wendell says he thinks I'm AI generated. Sometimes I feel like it. What is it they say? Sometimes you feel like a nut. Chris says that red-haired guy from my fraternity probably has some free time. Oh, never mind. All right. So, yeah, I think that's all I'm going to cover for today. I was doing this deep dive on Elon Musk, and the headline is about his estranged daughter, Vivian Jenna Wilson, is moving out of the States to move to Japan. She's 20 years old, and she cares nothing about him. So I was doing this deep dive on him, did not realize how many wives and children he had. In the interview with one of his children, they even said, I do not know how many siblings I have. So as much as he is hated for his cars, he must be loved by women for something. And there's some question now, is he really the richest man in the world? I don't know. And the speaking of AI, the new game coming out, the first-person shooter, is called Atomfall, and apparently it's getting mixed reviews. It's portraying Europe in a post-apocalypse experience, and you have to be a survivor, fight the elements, fight the people, and survive. So it's getting mixed reviews. And let's see, there are no new firefighter data to report, which is good. And I'll just leave the sports headline alone because, Wendell, we only have 5 minutes. What can I do? I can't do it all for you, Wendell. I try, but I can't do it. All right, everybody. I want to thank you for tuning in. Wendell, I have had 4 viewers at one point in time, and I've had as many as 12. So thank you for watching. Everybody that's listening on Radio X or on Pine Island FM, please come over and find us Monday through Friday at noon till 3 on the Paranormal Guys. 3 words, guys with a Z. And of course, this will be broadcast on Spotify and Amazon and all the places you get your podcasts later today. And anybody who wants to shoot me a message, my email address is in the comments and show description, but it's sportcat@protonmail.com. Or if you want to shoot me a voicemail, you can hop over to, and I just drew a total blank, speakpipe.com/sportcat. And of course, you can find me on most social medias at Sportcat or at SportCatMedic. And you will find me on Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now, in all those places. I want to thank the Rainbow Radio Network. I want to thank Ross at yergsradio.com. And of course, Radio X in Australia. We appreciate you and your support, and all the other people out there that help this show get off. Pine Island FM, thank you. And I don't know, Chris, I think that's it. We've told everybody to please come over, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, shoot them over to me, or you can get in touch with Ross. He'll get them to me. Either way, we welcome you in the chat. It's a lively discussion, and we have a lot of fun. So it's Friday. Everybody stay weather aware, especially if you're in the South, and keep your eyes and ears out. You never know. My Wednesday waffle may appear today somewhere. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. I even sent a shout out to some people. Everybody have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. And I will see you on Monday. Take care. Much love from Sportcat North Studio, somewhere deep in the Appalachian Mountains in my mom's attic. Well, thank you, Wendell, for sharing it. Everybody, please remember to hit that thumbs up button. Everybody have a great day. I will see you soon.